I even start this video? I don't know. This is my YouTube debut. Today's video, we are doing a 2025 reading wrap up. 2025, I had a goal of reading 50 books. I did not meet that goal. I only read 37 books. Since I was anticipating reading a lot of books, I wanted to easily be able to go back and see how many stars I gave each book and left a couple comments. First book of 2025 was A Court of Silver Flames. ACOTAR was my introduction to romantasy, and I flew through the series, and so I started it in probably October of 2024. So first week of January, I finished A Court of Silver Flames. I gave it 5 stars, the most amazing book out of the series. My comments that I left was best book of the ACOTAR series, huge character building, found family, and slow burn, where MMC falls first. Okay, that sounds more like I'm trying to sell the book to someone based off of tropes. Okay, next book, The Housemaid. I read it because I love thriller, and this was my first Frida McFadden book. I gave it 3 stars. Classic thriller with big twist in the end. Overall decent quick read for a switch up book slump. Reading Frida McFadden for the first time is really nice because she does thriller really well. And then I also read the book Horror Movie. I love horror movies, so I wanted like a horror scary book. I gave it 3.5 stars with this book. I remember it was like eerie and weird and a little scary, but half of the book is like a screenplay. Like you're reading the script of like the horror movie that they were filming. I wish I could have seen it as a movie, but the actual like story that it kept switching back to, I'm always kind of like, you're not giving me enough. I wanted to keep reading, I wanted to see where it was going, but then I feel like it kind of fell flat because I finished reading it and I was like, I don't really get it. So I don't know if I really recommend that one, is it? Then I read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I gave that 5 stars. I loved it. Okay, my comments that Nathan is a book boyfriend. It was refreshing to see contemporary romance done well and not in a cheesy way. I was happy that there was no third act breakup or miscommunication trope. Like I kept waiting for something to ruin it for me or for something to piss me off. And then I read Neon Gods by Katie Robert. I gave 2.5 stars because there was absolutely no plot. Like it technically had a plot. This book was not written for plot. I don't really have that much to say about it. Yeah, so I had a note here saying that the plot could have been decent, but it wasn't the focus at all, which is pretty much an accurate summary. I also read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. 3 stars. This was a good, easy read. Was not aware of the plot twist. Found family romance subplot. Good book. I liked The Naturals. I liked that there was the sense of like, it kind of felt like a Criminal Minds episode. I recommend it. The whole series is really good, which is fun. God of Malice. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I was not expecting it to be as unhinged as it was. Overview for the Legacy of God series. There's like American mafia families that live in England and go to school there. A British campus for like these British lights. Their schools are technically rivals, and then they intermingle and date and fall in love. And then I listened to Plot Twist as an audiobook. It was not good. I'm gonna give it like a 2.5 stars. I didn't really care for the main characters. Neither one of them grew on me. I could not get into their love story. 2.5 for sure. I don't recommend. Definitely not as a book. Don't take your time to read it. God of Pain, I gave it 4 stars. This is the second book in the Legacy of Gods series. Brighton's character development. He's like super quiet in the first book, so I was super excited to like see him as the male main character. I love the world that all of these characters are in, and it's fun seeing like the main characters in God of Malice, how their story continues. I love any book that has like a found family trope. I love being like in a universe. Then we have God of Wrath, the 3rd book in the series, 5 stars because I love the male main character. God of Fury, that's a 4th book in the series. This one I listened to as an audiobook because I was so obsessed with the series I couldn't get through them fast enough. All of the books kind of take place around the same time period. I started listening to the audiobook at the same time that I was reading the 3rd and the 4th book in the series, and nothing really got spoiled for me listening to, but I gave God of Fury 5 stars. But they're pretty much like all 5 stars. I think I only gave God of Pain 4 stars because I gave God of Malice 5 stars. So I was like, okay, they can't all be 5 stars, but the whole series is just like 5 stars. And God of War is the only one that I haven't read. I actually purchased recently It's on my TBR. Okay, next book that I finished was Collide, which was definitely giving Icebreaker. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was good. I liked the characters as well. The boy is like a golden retriever boy, so it was like a nice switch up from dark romance. Then I went to my garage and I found like an old book called No Strings Attached, and it's actually like, it's a pretty fat book, but it was actually 2 stories, and they're like summer-based stories. It follows a number of characters that like stay at this leased house in the summer in LA. They like each have their own little like side quests that they're trying to complete for the summer. So it was pretty cool because you have everyone's POV, everyone's story, so it was interesting to read. It was also just fun to pick up like a random book and not really know what it was going into it, which is most books that I read. And then the second story was kind of the same thing. Again, following a summer, following all of the characters' POV and seeing how their summer unfolds. Really random book. It's not even like, I don't even think it's on GoodReads, but it was good. It was a good read. God of Ruin. This is the only book that I have physically with me because the other ones are at my parents' house. Also, the other thing that I loved about these books is how floppy they are. It's just like nice in your hands. Looking at it, I'm so excited to read God of War. 4 out of 5 stars because they're just some characters that like I was not less excited to hear about their story, but like had a crush on them less. Wildfire, I read as an audiobook, like in the same universe as Icebreaker. As an audiobook, it was good. Again, I like, as a contemporary romance, it's great. 4 stars out of 5. I really love the main characters. This one takes place during like a summer camp that they're both working at, which is also just very wholesome. It's like, it looks like it's gotta be good. Like, it feels nice, it looks nice. Awful book. Mile High by Liz Tomford, the Windy City series. I hear so much about. People rave about it, people love it. Mile High, I hated. I could make an hour-long video just talking about everything I hated about this book. Female main character is insufferable. I wanted to DNF this book so bad, but I was like, you know what, at this point, let me just see what happens. Let me just see her get her happy ending that I don't even think she deserves. Female main character whines so much. She is such a pick-me. She is so victim mentality, and I did not connect to her. I didn't want to root for her. So I went on GoodReads because I was like, I can't be the only one who feels this way. And someone else also said it. For the plot, it was way too long. There were 2 different chapters, 1 chapter each, where the guy's like making up with his mom, making up with his dad. Instead of stars, I gave it 2 X's. I hated it. I hated it so much that I haven't continued on the Windy City series, even though I really did want to read Right Move. This book was awful. That's my fault for continuing with hockey romance way after I should have stopped. Killer Instincts. It's a good read. It's an easy read. It's fun. It's like watching like an episode of Criminal Minds in your head. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. We're continuing with the character development, with the found family. It's a new mystery that we're solving, but it's based off of the first book. They're like profilers. So the whole like profiling aspect and getting down to who their suspects are and why, it's super fun. My dream one day is to have like a huge bookshelf or even like a library room in my house. I don't even think this is gonna be there because this is so awful. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone ever to read. The Nanny, DNF'd. My first DNF ever in my entire life. I hated it so much. I took it from my little sister. She had it in her room. The cover looked kind of cute. I was like, whatever, I'll take it. The main characters were insufferable. She comes and is a nanny for this chef. He's a single father. He's a widow. This nanny comes into their lives, and she's supposed to be, her main priority should be taking care of his daughter. But instead, her main priority is getting with him, which I just think is absolutely diabolical. Like, they don't even try to hide it. Like, the second their romance starts, which it starts like very early on, they completely forget about the daughter. Like, I feel so bad for the daughter. These 2 couldn't care less. Like, I don't respect either one of them. There's like an aunt, his like widow's sister, who like wants to take care of the daughter and like doesn't like the nanny, and like I completely agree with her. She's supposed to be like the villain in the story. No, I'm the villain in the story. Because I hate this girl. She should be fired. She's an awful nanny. She just wants to go with the dad. It's awful. After that awful DNF experience, I went back to the Natural series because it was consistently good through the first and second book, and exact same with the third book. Again, we have another mystery, and it's still kind of building off 5 main characters, which are like 5 teenagers that are in the Naturals program, and the main one is Cassie. The books follow her life the most extensively in one of the big mysteries, follows her family mystery that she kind of has. So that's like a consistent theme with throughout the books, but there's always a different mystery in each book and like a different suspect that they're trying to track down. Another 4 stars out of 5. I just love a series that is consistently good. Okay, and then I listened to The Coworker by Frida McFadden as an audiobook. I'm not very good with audiobooks because my mind is always thinking, so if I have an audiobook on, I'm just gonna end up like thinking about other things that are on my mind and I'm gonna have no clue what happened in the audiobook. Frida McFadden's books being really good, thriller, twists and turns, you never know how the ending is gonna be. I thought that that would be a really good book for me to listen to as an audiobook because I wouldn't want to miss anything to see if I can solve the mystery or guess the ending. I did it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm so kind. I said great as always. Never know what's going to happen and is intriguing. Learning more even through the epilogue. Glad I had it as an audiobook. I haven't read another one of her books or listened to another audiobook, but I really should because the first 2 are consistently good. Okay, now we went back to dark romance because I had that itch that I needed to scratch, and I picked up the Devil Knight series. The first book in the series being Corrupt. I didn't really like this book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, and I just didn't really connect to the main characters, the female and male main characters. As much as I thought that this book fell flat and like wasn't that great, I ended up being obsessed with the series starting with the second book. I saw the book through, but it was honestly like a little painful to get through because I just didn't love the plot or the characters, and I didn't think I was going to continue on with the series either because of how flat it fell. Pen Pal was like, I thought it was going to be a dark romance, but it actually ended up being more of like a romance mystery. It took me by surprise. I remember I left a lot of notes because by the end of the book I actually cried. I cried and I was like in class. Insane plot twist, absolutely would have never guessed. Romance, don't even care. Was good spice, not even the hook. The thicker plot was incredible, which was like the mystery plot was incredible. I haven't been shocked like this in a while. Wow, 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 completely redeemed the book from not loving the main female character at first. How has no one talked about this book other than labeling it as like spicy? And that just does not do it justice at all. Amazing book. I have to give it 5 stars. And then I got the book The Alchemist as a birthday present and I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really great. It was a quick read, which was super nice. I read it in like 2 days and it's just a really nice story. The cover of the book calls it a fable about following your dream, which I have a lot of big dreams and aspirations that I'm in the works of making happen. Audiobook. Kiss the Villain is kind of like a spin-off of the Legacy of God series because one of the main male characters, brother of the main character in God of Malice, and so he shows up throughout the entire series. This is a male ex-male romance, and I listened to it as an audiobook. And it was good at first, but after and during the climax of the book, it got boring and got stuck at 70%. Definitely glad I didn't get it as a book being a lot more exciting and like a lot more plot being built in the beginning of the book, and then it just kind of plateaued. Okay, and then I started the Throne of Glass series. The world building, the characters, all of it. I'm just like, when I think of her books, I just am absolutely amazed at how a person can come up with all of this. I don't understand. I don't understand how it's all in her brain and how she gets it on paper. She doesn't forget stuff, and how she can make these entire series and make them so flawlessly and amazing. What I thought was interesting after reading ACOTAR first is that first 2 books take place in a kingdom. It's not a magical realm, which was super interesting to see how she built these worlds, but it wasn't magic based. The 3rd book in the series, magic is finally introduced, and that was my first 5 stars in the series. It's everything that I was looking for after ACOTAR. It's everything that a romantasy should be. Incredible how like I came for the romantasy and then got so swept up in the story and the characters and the plots that I didn't even notice that the romance wasn't there. It's not something I was like waiting for to happen because everything else was so intriguing and I was so into the entire world that I didn't think anything was lacking or missing. I wasn't waiting for something. I was just letting it unfold in front of me. I also chose to go the route of reading Assassin's Blade 4th. Author's recommendation was reading it 4th, so I read it 4th. I don't regret anything. I am someone who, as a slow reader, I was like, okay, if I did this wrong and like chronologically, it's not going to benefit me to read it fourth, and I feel like I'm like bored or I already know what's happened, this is going to be super tough to get through. But it ended up being really great. I cried reading it. It was emotional. It was getting to know the main character even better. So it was definitely still an amazing read for me. I gave it 4 stars out of 5, but I did note that I cried, which is amazing. I like rarely ever cry reading books. Queen of Shadows, I ate it up, 5 stars out of 5. We're in the thick of it. We are in the magical realm. POVs switch around to different characters. There are people in the kingdom, there are people in the magical realm, and that's as far as I've gotten in the series. I have 3 more books left. 6th and 7th are happening concurrently for different characters, and I have decided to go the route of tandem reading, meaning that I'm going to be reading some of the chapters of one book and then switching to the other book as needed based off of a guide that I got from Pinterest. So I've tabbed like where to start and then where to stop, where to start, where to stop for the 2 books. The only thing that's tough about this is that these are 2 big books, so it's like I'm gonna have to carry both of these big books wherever I want to read, which is kind of why I haven't started. After Queen of Shadows, we took a step away from Throne of Glass and went back to the Devil's Night series. And my little sunny angels hanging out on my books. Hideaway, this was the first book, well, this is the second book in the series and the first book that I fell in love with. It was easier to get into because I really liked the main male character a lot more than the main character in the first book, but then also right away the plot was more interesting. It did build off of the plot in the first book, but it was more interesting since the world was a little bit developed. It was easier to get into in that aspect. 4 out of 5 stars. Loved it. Immediately after finishing Hideaway, same night, I immediately picked up Kill Switch. The books also get progressively bigger, which I was happy with because I was loving them so much. This is my favorite female character, and the male character, I hated him so much in the first 2 books because he's so evil, but then you start to love him in this book, which character development, that's very important. That's how you know you're reading a good series. Love it so much. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, even though like thinking about it now and reminiscing on how much I love it so much, I would easily give it 5 stars. Great book. I couldn't put it down. I was obsessed. I flew through it. At that point, I was loving the Devil's Night series so much that I wanted to savor it before reading the last book. So I went back to the last book in the Natural series and I read Bad Blood. Another 4 out of 5 stars, super good. Wrapped up our big subplot throughout the entire series, mystery following the female main character of the book. There's also like a little novella which is in here, so I read that as well. It's another case, which I thought was super. This is like watching an episode of Criminal Minds, like a 45-minute episode. Awesome. I love that I had like an extra little look into the team and another mystery to follow, because after I finished the series, I went back to the Devil's Night series. This is a big boy book. Follows the last main male character, so it's a friend group of 4 guys, so each one has its own book. I loved it. There's 2 novellas, which is super nice because you can buy them off of Amazon I think for like $7, but she also has them for free on her website. So I read mediary novella between Kill Switch and Nightfall on her website, and it did a really great job of leading into this book because the timeline for these books, each book does include flashbacks, so you're flashing back from between 13 years ago to like a year ago, but each book also is like years after the other book. Okay, and then after finishing the Devil's Night series, I went back to the Fourth Wing series. Started reading Iron Flame in January, and not that I lost interest, but because I have a habit of reading multiple books at the same time, going back to that book in like that world was a little bit tougher. I told myself I was going to read that book and only that book in December, and so I did pick it up and I finished it, and I would say it's a solid 4 out of 5 stars. If I had read it from the beginning to the end, I could have given it 5 out of 5 stars like I gave Fourth Wing. Now I'm actually reading Onyx Storm. I'm trying not to read other books at the same time because, again, I'm in the world and I don't want to put it down. The last book that I read in 2025 is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which I read on my Kindle because it was on Kindle Unlimited. Dream Harbor series I was influenced to read by Pinterest because the books with the sprayed edges are really, really cute. So I was like, oh, those would be super cute to have on my bookshelf. But I'm trying to be responsible with my spending, so I'm trying not to buy physical books right now since I bought the Kindle. It's a solid 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't fall in love with the main characters, but it's like a pretty cutesy contemporary romance. Definitely fall vibe, so reading it in the winter was a pretty good choice. The character development's not that deep. Super cute because it's like small town, so it's definitely like a vibe, like a cozy. Cozy is like the perfect way to describe the Dream Harbor series. My goal for 2026 this year is to again read 50 books. I really want to focus on quality over quantity, which I pretty much did last year as well, because as a slow reader it doesn't matter how much I want to read. At the end of the day, like, I can't get through that much. So I think my goal for right now is finish Onyx Storm, and then if I'm not sick of romantasy, I want to jump back into Throne of Glass. But if I need a little bit of a breather, I think that would be the perfect time to read God of War to finish the Legacy of God series and then jump into Throne of Glass. I think that sounds like a really good plan. So I think that's what I'll do. But stay tuned because I'll probably post some videos about what I'm gonna read next. Bye guys.